like what's the equation for that? So R square score will be 1 minus SSR by SST or SSR by SST. 1 minus SSR means sum of square of residual by sum of square of total. SSR by SST means sum of square of regressor by sum of square of total. So that's one way to evaluate our model. So now today we'll see one more thing, like to see if our model is a good fit for linear study or not. So now here there is something called as residual. So residual is nothing but error. We already know about this. So E equal to y minus y pred, that is the formula, that is error equal to y minus y pred. So now there is a plot called as residual plot. This residual plot is also used to evaluate if the model is good fit for linear or not. Like, is it appropriate for linear models or is it appropriate for non-linear models? Means your data set is appropriate for linear or non-linear. That we can also figure out by residual plots. Now this is a type of graph, okay, which tells you if whatever study you have done is a good is good for linear models or non-linear models. Okay, so now to check this one, so this is, suppose there is some data set. I have taken here some data, and like here we have some y values, observed value, and some predicted value. Error is like observed minus predicted, it is giving us some results. Now here within these errors, if you see equal amount of distribution of like positive values as well as negative values, like if you see like randomly positive and negative is distributed, okay, in the in both the sides, like you have a positive value as well as negative value, then you can say that it's a good fit for linear model. So now to understand this concept, it's nothing but when we are finding out a best fit line, our best fit line should go in the middle of the data. If it is passing through the middle of the data, that means we have equal amount of data on the left hand side as well as on the right hand side, means on the bottom or top, you can say, like on the regression line. So that means we have equal distribution of data. Suppose you don't have a equal distribution of data in both the sides. Suppose in one particular area you have lot of data, in the other you have less data, means less errors, then it will be called as it will be good for non-linear models, okay, not for linear models. Are you guys getting?
Yes.
Okay, so now here we will do this residual plot, and we'll see like with our like existing data, like what we did last class. Okay, just go to the same notebook what you did last class, and in the same notebook execute everything again. Just do run all from the command prompt, sorry, from this Jupyter notebook. Okay, just click on this one, cell, run all. Okay, it will execute everything again. So just run all the code. Then we will do this residual plot. So now this is a plot called as residual plot. For this we have to use this Seaborn package. In this we have this plot. Now here I'm saying import Seaborn as SB. Then I'm setting some style in Seaborn. Then SB dot resid plot. Resid plot means residual plot. You have to pass your observed value and predicted value, and then it will give you the plot. Okay, you just do this on your data set, like whatever you practiced last time. Done this one?
Yes.
Okay, now see here, like in this plot, you see there is a dotted line. So this is the center line. This dotted line is nothing but this is a regression line. Okay, like if you see a regression line always passes through the center. Like we have already seen regression line earlier. So here, like we see some equal amount of data on the positive as well as negative side. So we have fairly random amount of data on the positive as well as the negative side of residual plot. So in this kind of scenario, we can infer that it's good fit for linear models. Okay, residual plot tells us if the model what we used is right or not. So we used a linear model, that is linear regression, it's correct. Okay, sometimes what happens if you see more residuals on one side, it's like concentrated only on one side, then it will be it will not be a good fit for linear model. Like that, from residual plot we can infer. Are you getting this plot? Okay, able to understand this? Hello?
Yeah, I'm getting the plot.
No, are you able to get understand this plot?
Just trying to
Just
understand.
see here, residual plot means, see here, this plot, if you see a random pattern, like we see in the positive side also we have certain data, on the negative side also we have certain data. So data is distributed in both of these sides. So when the data is distributed in both of this side of a residual plot, positive as well as negative, then we can tell that it's good fit for linear models. Okay, means linear model means we use the algorithm that is linear regression. It is a linear model. Like that, we have non-linear algorithms also. Okay, like if our like residuals like these points will be only on positive side, like more on positive side, very less on negative side. In those kind of scenario, we will go with non-linear algorithms or non-linear models. Getting?
Yes.
Okay, next, we can also do a test called as OLS test. So now this is also very very famous. In this you might not see like most of the time in internet and all. This OLS test is for this OLS is nothing but it stands for ordinary least square. Like what it does, it will solve everything in an ordinary least square way method. Like we have already done like regression by finding out B naught, B1, those things are called as ordinary least mean square method. So now this test also does regression. It will also do F test. It will also do T test. Okay, F test is nothing but we have already done F test. F test is ANOVA testing. T test is hypothesis testing, which we did earlier. So now it will do all this kind of test and it will give you a report. So it gives you a final report on how the things are within your analysis. So now using this report also we can infer a lot of things. Now like usually like hypothesis testing, all these are done, this falls under something called as feature engineering. Feature engineering means figuring out which feature is important, which feature is not important. Now using t-test and all we can do that. Like hypothesis testing we can do using t-test to figure out which feature is good or bad, and we can do f-test when we have more than 2 3 features. That means suppose in our case if we take all the features and we want to see how it is contributing to dependent variable, is it like all these features combined are good to dependent variable or not, those kind of places we can do f-test. And to check each individual feature how important they are to dependent variable, we can do t-test. Okay, these two types of hypothesis testing are there. Then it will also do some other tests like Jarque, Bera, Durbin, Watson, and those. Okay, and we'll be discussing about that. But first, you write down this code and see if you are getting this report or not.
You're done.
Done. Okay. Now see here, like in this test, like first if you see, it tells you what is the dependent variable. It tells it's y. So now here see, this test is there in stats model. So this is a package. This is a statistics package. In this API application package interface, one more sub package is there. From that we are importing this OLS function. So now this OLS function, what it does, it will do all this, it will do regression of its own, like it will do proper regression. Here we have to tell what is the dependent variable and what all are independent. Then it will do regression. Then it will do all type of tests like F test, T test, Jack-Kubera, Durbin Watson. There are different types of tests what it will be doing. Now first, like here we have to pass some arguments. Those are like ndog. Ndog means dependent variable and xog means independent variable. Okay, so here ndog is nothing but dependent variable. We are passing y and xog is x. Then dot fit. Fit means it will train the model and it will get all the outputs, and those outputs we are seeing through dot summary. Okay, so within this function we have dot summary. Using that we are looking at, okay, what all test it has done. So now here, like first thing it is showing you here is r square. Now it tells you what is the r square value. So r square value is 0.996. Okay, that's what it gives you r square. So earlier what we did, like our test, what we did, we were getting r square as 90%, but using the ordinary way, it's able to figure out that okay, r square can be 99, means almost 100% is what r square can be there. So then it also tells you what is the adjusted r square. So here adjusted r square is nothing but like when you doesn't take, like when you don't take your outliers and those kind of thing, you remove and then you check what is the r square, then it will be falling into adjusted r square. So here like both the r square are same, like we don't have much of this one like outliers and all. So both r square and adjusted r square is same here. Then it is doing f statistic. F statistics is nothing but f test it is doing, that is ANOVA testing. We have already done ANOVA testing. So here also it's doing f test. Then once it does f test, it shows us what is the value and probability value with the f test. Now here, like if your p value is less than your significance value, like suppose by default you will take significance value as 0.05. If your p value is less than 0.05, that means all the features like all the independent variables are giving good contribution towards dependent variable. So here we can say that like we were trying to find out in this scenario like how math and read is related to writing scores. So now here we can say, okay, using math and read, we can easily find out the writing score. So they are very much correlated with the writing score. So now here it says p value is 0.00. That means it's very good. That's where like it is able to predict our values also at 99% accuracy. Now next is next there are certain important things to look here is one more is t-test. Now if you see here, it says x1 and x2. Okay, like that it gives you two parameters here, x1 and x2. So now here on x1 also it did t-test, and x2 also it did t-test. These x1 and x2 are nothing but our independent variables. X1 is your maths, x2 is your read. Okay, like that we had two things, math and read. With respect to that, we are checking the writing score. So one feature is read, the other feature is write, and both the like using both the things, it has done the t-test. So what it will do, it will check how math is contributing towards the writing score. Sorry, independent is writing, yes. So how math is contributing towards the writing score, and how read is contributing towards the writing score. So that's what it will check. So now here it has found out that okay, both are like p value as 0.00. That means both of them are contributing in a good way. So like individually also contribution is good, and like if you take combined also contribution is good. Are you getting this f test and like t test like interpretation from this table? Are you guys able to understand?
No, I didn't understand X1, X2 part.
You didn't understand x1 x2. So see, x1 x2 is nothing but your independent variables. Are you getting that?
That I got it. No,
See, x1 is your suppose read, and x2 is your x1 is your math. There were two independent variables. First one was math, I guess. Let me check. Yeah, first one was math. So x1 is math, and x2 is your this one read. Okay, but x1 is math, x2 is read. So now like x1 is one independent variable. Now we are checking here. T-test is usually done when you are comparing like one value with the other. Okay, like one individual value with one more individual value. So now here we are testing if like math is a good contributor for writing or not. Like math is giving good kind of evidence with writing or not. So here we can say that using the math scores we can easily predict the right scores. So that's what we are testing. Okay, like is it true or not. So now here p value, if your p value will be less than 0.05, then it's a good factor. If p value is greater than 0.05, then it's not a good factor. So now here we can say that individually if you take x1, that is here in t-test it shows you how that individual factor, that is how math is contributing towards the writing score. Then again it shows x2, that is read. So how read is contributing towards the writing score. So x1, as we are getting p value less than 0.05, we will say here it's a good contributor towards writing. x2 also we are getting 0.00, which is less than 0.05, so we'll say x2 is also a good contributor. So if you take only x1, it's contributing also in a proper way. If you take only x2 also, it's a good contributor. That's what we can figure out. Getting? Still not getting?
No, here in the T column,
Yeah.
there is a 5.601 and for the X2 5 for 58.370.
This is t-test value. This is t-test. We are doing here t-test. Once you do t-test, whatever value you get, that value you have to compare with t-distribution table. When you look at t-distribution table, you will find the p-value. This is hypothesis testing.
Okay.
We have done this hypothesis testing, right? Earlier we were doing hypothesis testing. This is t-test, means hypothesis testing.
Okay.
Okay, so here whatever value we are getting, that value we have to compare with our t-distribution table. We have to find p-value. So like we have to look into t-distribution table. It is telling us what is the p-value associated with that. Now we have already seen that if p-value is greater than 0.05, then do not reject null hypothesis. If p-value is less than 0.05, then reject null hypothesis. Like that we have studied. So here in this case, if p-value is less than 0.05, then it's a good contributor. Like by default, null hypothesis says that these all are not good contributors. Okay, individually these all are not good contributors towards your dependent variable. So we will reject the null hypothesis if p-value will be less than 0.05. So here in our case it is less than 0.05. So we'll reject the null hypothesis. So we'll say these are good factors. So just to remember, like whenever p-value is less than your significance value, then you can tell your features are contributing properly to the dependent variable. Means your features are significantly important and are significantly contributing towards your dependent variable. Getting?
Yes.
Are you getting the hypothesis testing?
Yes. Yes.
What is hypothesis testing, Abhay?
We are like hypothesis is testing is that in this we like
At the end in the table, we were just finding, comparing, checking the value, and we were deriving this T, like logbook it was.
See, hypothesis testing is to check a claim. Okay, is to test a claim if a claim is true or not. Okay, so by default here null hypothesis claims that your features are not good contributors. Okay, to your towards your dependent variable. If we get a p value less than 0.05, we will say they are good contributors. Means less than 0.05. Why I am saying? Because significance value what we are setting is 0.05 by default. So if your p value is less than 0.05, then those features are good factors or good features, okay, which are giving good evidence towards your dependent variable. So we will say these are the features which are giving good evidence towards your dependent variable. So here t-test is done to check individual element, like individually how each of the parameter, how each of the features are contributing towards your dependent variable. Here how many features we have in our data? How many features we have?
Two.
Two features. So one is read, the other one is write. Sorry, one is read, the other one is math, right? Two features, math and read. So
Right.
math is x1, read is x2. Now we are checking how math is contributing towards dependent variable, that is right. Then how read is contributing towards dependent variable, that is right. Okay, individually we are checking. So first we did a t-test with math and write, and we found that okay, math is a good contributor towards writing score. Similarly, again we are checking okay how good this feature, that is read, towards the writing score. So read also we found that that is also a good feature. That's what we are doing here, that is t-test. In t-test what we have to analyze? We have to analyze the p-value. Okay, p-value, where do we get the p-value? By looking at the t-distribution table, that will give us the p-value. So here we are not doing the test one by one. If you do the test, it takes a lot of time, like we have already done this t-test and all earlier. But here this like OLS is a function which is ready-made function, sorry, this is a ready-made class actually. This is a class which is provided by stats model package. So this stats model package has already integrated this OLS thing. Now in this OLS, what they are doing t-test, they are doing f-test, they are doing all kind of hypothesis test and giving us a report, final report to analyze. So here we right now we analyze t values, that is t-test values. Then the other one is f-test. Okay, so t-test are you getting?
Yes.
Okay, then we have f-test. F-test means ANOVA test. F-test is done when you want to see how all the features are contributing towards your dependent variable. All the features means all the independent variables. Now here if you take all the independent variables combined, like if I take math as well as read, how it is contributing towards write. That's what we are checking. There also we see p-value is 0.00. Here if you see probability f statistics 0.00. Here also p-value is 0.00. So here we will say that this is also like if you take both of them combined, they are contributing contributing in a good way towards dependent variable. If you take individual elements also, they also are contributing very nicely towards your dependent variable. Getting? Are you getting this?
Yes.
Okay, now next is there is something called as omnibias test, skewness test, Durbin-Watson test, Jarque-Vera. So skewness is nothing but if the data is skewed or not. Kurtosis is nothing but what's the kurtosis. So here it says it's a positive kurtosis. Skewness is little bit negative. Then we have certain different types of tests like Durbin-Watson, Jarque-Vera. Okay, there are like different tests which we are getting. Now to understand Durbin-Watson and all, okay, we are going to that. First we'll understand certain thing in regression. So there is something called as 5 assumption of regression. Okay, first we'll understand that, then we'll come back to this report and we'll check those assumptions. Now there is in regression there is something called as 5 different assumptions or regression assumptions. So now these assumptions are something like in interviews and all also they ask you, okay, what are the different assumptions of regressions, like 5 key assumptions of regression. Like what do you assume when you do regression analysis? Okay, what is your what do you take as default, okay, assumption when you are doing a regression analysis? So the first assumption is linear relationship. So we assume that the relationship between the independent and dependent variable is linear. That's why we do linear regression. So we assume that the independent variable and dependent variables are linear to one another. So that's the first assumption we have, that is linear relationship. Now how do you check the linear relationship if they are linear or not? How do you check that? How do you test if your independent and dependent variables are linear or not?
Scatter plot.
Scatter plot will give you the visualization. How do you check in numbers?
Not even one thing.
Correlation coefficient. Right, there is something called as NP dot CORR COEF. We have seen, right, correlation. I told you earlier, like how positive it is, how negative it is. All those you get through small r. We also call it as small r or Pearson r, or we also call it as correlation coefficient.
The function is a correlation coefficient.
Yeah, NP dot CORR COEF. Using that function, we can check what if they are linear or not. If we are getting a positive value in that, like highly positive, like more than 50%, suppose it is giving us 0.6 or higher than 0.5, that means it is having a linear correlation. Otherwise, it's not having a linear correlation. Like that, we can see. Okay, so this.
If it is greater than 0.5,
Yes.
then it is correlative, otherwise not.
No, then it is positively correlated, linearly positively correlated. Otherwise, they are no, they are having a correlation which is scattered, like no correlation is there. Okay, sometimes it can be negatively correlated also if you are getting minus value.
Okay.
Okay, if you are getting more than 0.5, that means there is a good linear correlation, means good positive linear correlation. If you are getting less than 0.5, means it is having some correlation, but it's not that good. Okay, it is like mostly your data will be scattered. That's where you will get like around 0.5 or less than that. Usually getting more than 0.5 is considered to be a good positive correlation if you are getting a value which is higher than 0.5. Similarly, if you are getting in a negative value like minus 0.6, minus 0.7, that means they are negatively correlated and linear to one another. Negative linear correlation, R will be negative. Positive linear correlation, R will be positive. No correlation, R will be near to 0, like 0.2, 0.3, 0.0. R will be near to 0 if there is no correlation. Getting? So that is what is small r. That is, we can calculate that. We can find out what is the r value by using a function in NumPy that is called as np.corrrcoef, correlation coefficient. Getting?
Yes.
Next is multivariate normality. Now, multivariate normality means this this is the second assumption here. So, linear regression analysis requires all variables to be multivariate normal. Means all the variables should be very much near to your normal distribution. It should not be like highly skewed. Like if your values, all the variables, like multiple variables, when you are taking into consideration, most of them are skewed here and there, then it's very difficult to find out the actual relationship. So here, if it is very much towards normal distribution, then it is good. So that's what we call it as our data should be multivariate normal. Getting?
Any example?
So suppose we are taking this, suppose we took this read and maths and read, these are our independent variables. Now we have to check this with independent variables, that is math and read. So if we take math and read both the values, okay, if read is suppose highly skewed, okay, if your value is highly skewed like read or your math, both the values are highly skewed, means your values are concentrated on only one area, that is either on the positive or either on the negative. In those kind of scenario, finding a correlation with the dependent variable is not that easy. Okay, it doesn't give you proper predictions, because your dependent variable also here suppose if you see like in your data, like if you take both the variables, like we took both the variables and we plotted it in a graph. Like if you remember, like we plotted our math and read in a graph in a 3D plot, and we saw that here, like if you see this graph, here we saw that both math and read, if you take, they are completely linear to your dependent variable, that is right. They are very much linear. But if it is not multivariate normal, that means your data will be skewed. Like math might be highly skewed, or suppose your read is highly skewed. In those kind of scenarios, skew means you have data on one area, means either on the positive side you have more data or on the negative side you have more data. That means your data is skewed. If those kind of data is there, then this will not be that linear. Here you will feel like if you take both the data, you will see like, okay, it's like it will look like a scattered plot, like fully scattered, like all the data are here and there. So you will not see this kind of linear relationship. You will not see this kind of linear relationship within math, read and write. Okay, there will be like more data on one of the side or the other side, because if data will be skewed means data is concentrated on one area, right? Skewness means if you see more data on the positive side or if you see more data on the negative side. If that is the condition, then your data will not be linear to one another. Okay, like if you combined all the data, multivariate means when you take multiple variable as one and you check it with a dependent variable, then you will not see this kind of linearity between them. Getting?
Yes.
So we are assuming that it's multivariate normal. We are assuming that the data are multivariate normal. So first is we are assuming that there is linear relationship between each independent variable and dependent variable. Then the data is multivariate normal. Then we are looking at something called as no or little multicollinearity. So we are telling that there is no or little multicollinearity. So multicollinearity will happen when your data are highly correlated with each other. Highly correlated means like whatever independent variable you have taken, if those values are highly correlated means your values are falling on top of one another. Suppose your math score is 10, read score is also 10. Math score is 20, read score is also 20. Math score is 12, read score is also 12. If you are having similar type of information in both the data set, means both the variable, then there is no need of taking both the variable, right? If you have exactly similar type of values. So here we assume that there is little multicollinearity or no multicollinearity, means independent variables are having different data, they are not similar. Getting? If the independent variables are similar, then there is no need of taking all the independent variable. We can just go with one independent variable. We can discard the other one which is similar to the existing one. Getting? Are you getting?
Can you explain one more time?
See, no or little multicollinearity means multicollinearity. As the name says, multicollinear. Multicollinear will happen when multiple things are linear, collinear with one another. Means if within your data set you have similar type of variables.
Variables are too highly correlated with each other.
This means highly correlated. Means if you see, like suppose if I am taking math and read, both the independent variables, and you see in math also whatever values are there, in read also exactly same values are there. That means they are highly correlated with each other. So in those kind of scenario, I can drop one record. Okay, to take one other example, suppose in a medical record you have two columns. One is called as hemoglobin count, the other one is called as platelet count. Okay, suppose there are two columns, hemoglobin count and platelet count, and you see that in both the columns you have similar record only. Then you can drop one column, right? You don't have to go with all the columns. So that means these two columns are highly correlated, means similar informations are there within two columns.
भूत आ गया oh sorry.
Abhi you are getting? Hello.
Yeah, getting.
Okay, so that will be your multicollinearity. So now this is what we assume is there is no multicollinearity or little multicollinearity is there within the data. Next is no autocorrelation. Now autocorrelation is something which happens when the residuals are not independent of each other. Now suppose your residuals are error. If you have similar errors, like errors are also you are getting similar type of values, that means there is autocorrelation. So we assume that there is no autocorrelation in our data set. Okay, so autocorrelation should not be there. So that is what we assume. So here this is the fourth one. Fifth one is homoscedastic. The last assumption is that data is homoscedastic. Homoscedastic means residuals are equal across the regression line. We just tested just now that we saw, okay, residuals, whatever error we did this residual plot, and we saw that residuals are equal, like in the positive side equal amount of distribution, also in the negative side we have approximately equal amount of distribution of residuals. That means our data is homoscedastic. Data should be homoscedastic. If data is not homoscedastic, if residuals are not equal across the regression line, if on the one side data is more and the other side data is less, then it will be called as heteroscedastic. But here in regression, we assume that our data is homoscedastic. Getting this?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the 5 assumptions which are there. Now to check each of the assumption, first one is data should have linear relationship that we can check with np.corr/coef function. Next is if the data is multivariate normal or not. Okay, so now this multivariate normal or not we can check with a test called as Jarque-Bera test. Now if you see here, like we did a test here, like in our that OLS test what we got, here we are getting something called as Jarque-Bera and Durbin-Watson. Now if you look at Jarque-Bera test, you have to look at p-value for Jarque-Bera test. So from this also you can find out. So here Jarque-Bera test is also called as goodness of fit test. It's also called as goodness of fit test. So it tells you whether the data have this skewness and kurtosis matching a normal distribution or not. So is it near to normal distribution or not? That's what this test will tell you, Jarque-Bera test. Okay, so here, like if your p-value is greater than 0.05, then it is matching. If your p-value is less than 0.05, then it is not matching. So here greater than 0.05 means near to normal distribution, less than 0.05 means not near to normal distribution. Like that you can take up the Jarque-Bera test. Okay, getting? So this is to check like if the data is towards the normality, normal distribution or not. So this is also called as test of normality or goodness of fit test. Getting?
Yes.
Okay, next there is something called as Durbin-Watson test. Now Durbin-Watson test is to check the autocorrelation. Now as we saw that there should be no there should be no autocorrelation within the data. So here one assumption says that no autocorrelation should be there within the data. Autocorrelation means when residuals are not independent of each other. So we are saying that residuals should be independent of each other. So that is what Durbin-Watson will tell us. Now this Durbin-Watson value will always it will always fall within 0 to 4, this Durbin-Watson value. So a value of 2.0 means there is no autocorrelation detected in the sample. So here we are getting value near to 2, so that means there is no autocorrelation. If the value is far from like 2, like almost 3 plus, then there is autocorrelation within the sample. Getting?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the different tests which are there with respect to our regression. So now next we will move into one more regression assumption, that is called as your this one that is your multicollinearity. Now see, to check collinearity it is easy. It is just np.corr/coef when you are checking collinearity within two variables. And but here to check multicollinearity, when you have multiple variables and you want to see how they're collinear with one another, in those kind of scenario we use a different test. It is called as VIF test. So it's called as VIF test, which stands for variance inflation factor. So now we are going to test that, like we are going to use this variance inflation factor test, and we are going to see if there is any multicollinearity or not within our data set, like what we took like last class, that is student score, to check out the right score based on math and read. So we will take that data set and we'll see if there is any multicollinearity. Now this VIF, variance inflation factor test, is given by this formula, that is 1 by 1 minus r square. It's very simple formula, 1 by 1 minus r square. So what it will do, first it will do regression. This test, how do you do this test? So first we have to do regression on this, then we have to find out the r square, then we have to find out, okay, what is the VIF for that. So now here VIF between 5 to 10 means there is little bit of multicollinearity which is present within the data. And if you have similar VIF for your independent variables, that means also that they have some kind of multicollinearity within the data. So now to do this VIF test, we'll be using that stats model package. So now like earlier also we used stats model package for OLS test. Now we will use the stats model package to do this VIF test. So now just write down this code, then I will explain the entire part. Okay, you can write down this code.
You're done.
Okay, done. Now see here, like we are taking that same data set, student data set, and here first one what I am using is stats model outlier influence. So outlier influence is nothing but yeah, this is a sub package which is there in stats model, in which we have this VIF variance inflation factor function. Then this stats model dot tools I'm using. So in these tools we have something called as add constant. So now this add constant is nothing but it's like adding a constant to our independent variables. Now see here, like our formula is y equal to b naught plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2, like that. Here the formula is there. So we have already done this like earlier, like I showed you. Okay, to do matrix multiplication we can add x naught with b naught. So b naught we can add x naught, and we can do matrix multiplication. So here also this add constant will add an extra x value, that is nothing but x naught it will add. Okay, so it's like similar to np dot once. We added that np dot once earlier, so this will also do the same thing. Here it will add, and here it will add one more column of one values. Getting? Are you getting this add constant? Hello? Hello?
From where disturbance is there? Yeah, I'm getting constant.
Okay, so add constant is nothing but it will add np dot once. Okay, like we added np dot once earlier, like x0 was there, b0 was there, that is b naught x naught. We added earlier, if you remember, like y equal to b naught plus b1 x1 b2 x2 was the formula. So we added one more for b naught, we added x naught. X naught is nothing but like it comprised of one values, like b naught into 1 is nothing but b naught itself. So we added one more constant to do this matrix multiplication. Here also add constant is used to do that same thing. So it is adding up this x naught to this. Okay, so here to this equation it will just add one more column of one values. Next, period of series, here we are saying variance inflation factor, then we are passing all the values. So here we are writing a loop saying for I in range of except 1. Except 1 means column, all the column. For all the column it has to pick values. Like first column is nothing but your constant, then next one is math, then read, then write. So for math it will be picking all the values for math, and then it will be doing the VIF test on that, and again it will pick for reading, then again it will pick for writing. So now here if you see the VIF values what it gives us, you can see that math is 2.96, but reading and writing is very same. So reading and writing are having similar kind of variance inflation factor. So in this kind of scenario, when you see independent, you should check variance inflation factor only with respect to independent variable. Now here math and read, if you take, both are independent variable, but you see that their variance inflation factor is very different. Like one is 2, the other one is 11, right? So here our math and read, both the variance inflation factor are different. So we will say that they are not similar features, they are having different type of data within them. So they are different features, different contributor towards our dependent variable. If we see that similar type of values are there in those kind of condition, we have to drop one column from that. Whichever is having the higher variance inflation factor, we have to drop that column if both are having similar type of VIF values. Getting?
Yes.
Okay, so this is how you test if there is any multicollinearity within your data set. Okay, so we'll keep it till this, and next class we'll start off with something called as categorical data analysis. Okay. Hello.
Yeah, okay then.
Okay. Okay. Bye.